is what we're going to be covering this afternoon as well. Usually when we are in a physical room, we would normally take time to indicate to you where the emergency exits are and where the bathrooms are, but we're not going to do that today because hopefully and comfortably you are at your house, and also hopefully you know where the emergency exits are and how to get to the bathrooms if you need to do so as well. Maybe just one request from our side is, while we are presenting, if you could maybe ensure that your microphone is switched off, so that we don't have any disruptions. However, should you want to make a comment and you are afraid that you might lose your comment, or if you have a question and you want to maybe bring the question in while we are presenting, you can either put it into the chat or you can raise your hand. But don't worry, at the end of our presentation, we will give you ample time to ask some questions, and we're hoping that we'll be able to answer all your burning questions this afternoon as well. Shortly after this, I'm going to introduce our team. And after I've introduced the team, I'll speak about an overview of the program. I will then hand over to Claire Kelly, who will talk to us about the calendar and some practicalities. And then, like I've mentioned, we will share some frequently asked questions with some of the answers to that. But right at the end, we're going to allocate some time for you to ask those burning questions that you still might have if it wasn't answered during the course of this afternoon. So as Chanel brought up the next slide, maybe just to say who the team is. We are from Stellenbosch Business School Executive Development, and in our business we have different
Kev, you on mute.
And we are representing the open enrollment channel, and the team that will be supporting the young people on this program will be as follows. A very important lady who will be our program manager, which is Samantha Abrams. She will be communicating with your youngsters once they are on the program. So Samantha has responsibility for seeing to all administrative issues around the program. One of the ways that I like to introduce Samantha, because she's a very, very important link in our chain, but Samantha is all things admin. And then next to Samantha on the slide, you have Charmaine Mitchell, who is our client relations person. Charmaine deals with all queries that might come up from our website, but Charmaine's big responsibility is around building those relationships with our clients. And then on my far right, we have Amira Lewis, who is our program administrator. And Amira, up till now, is the person who might have made contact with your youngster or with yourself with regards to any outstanding documents, issues around payment, and that is Amira's role. And then you see myself next to Amira, and I am the proposal and design specialist. And what that simply means that the design of the program, the rollout of the modules and how they are delivered, so that responsibility sits with me. And then last but not least, in the center, Mr. Fenter, we have our channel director, which is Ms. Claire Kelly. And Claire will sort of present the rest of the afternoon with me as well. One person that I didn't indicate on this particular slide, and the reason is because that person is the glue of the program from a learning perspective. His name is, and now I can actually call him Dr. JP Cronje. He just completed his PhD last year, and JP will be our learning process facilitator. JP has a strong background in coaching. He runs in a coaching practice. And in addition to that, he completed his PhD but in the field of entrepreneurship, which is a big element of the Young Minds program as well. Unfortunately, JP couldn't attend this afternoon session as he is already busy in coaching practice, but he is contactable. And if you need any information that you would maybe like to discuss with him, you can just contact him via myself or one of the other team members who would be able to connect you with him should there be a need for that as well. We have realized that it is sometimes important to indicate to participants who we are and where we fit into the ecosystem of Stellenbosch University. So as you might know, most universities have different faculties because that's how they are arranged and organized. And then within the Economic and Management Sciences faculty, there is the school that we call the Business School, which is actually at this point in time situated not in Stellenbosch, but actually in a town called, or a city called Bellville in the Western Cape, where we have our business school, which is situated on which we call the Bell Park campus as well. That division, the business school in itself, is responsible for the awarding of degree programs, post-degree programs. For example, your MBAs, your postgraduate diplomas, your MPhil degrees, etc. But in the business school, we have a business which is responsible for the development of working professionals through the development and the designing of leadership and management short courses. And that division is known as Stellenbosch Business School Executive Development. And so this afternoon, we are talking from you from that particular division. And in that division, one of the gaps that we've observed was that there's a lot of young people who complete matric, and due to many different circumstances, they are not able to either pursue tertiary studies or have just been grappling with finding their direction. Because you can imagine at 17 years old and 18 years old, a lot of us, if it weren't for our parents and if it weren't for our limited options in the past, would not have known what to do. To fill that gap, we have decided to introduce this program, which is the Young Minds program, which is in essence a gap year program, which runs over a period of 9 months. But the big difference in terms of how we separate it from other gap year programs is that it is a career-focused gap year program. And what that means, it's structured in a way that it's not just free for all and youngsters do whatever they want to do, but it's a structured personal development program for young adults who are not sure what they want to do with their lives or their career yet. We've introduced that with lives or career because we've also found that sometimes some of the youngsters that has been doing a degree program, and in the middle of that degree program, they become more and more confused as to what they actually want to do. And sometimes they are forced to reconsider what they are doing. And so we have also attracted some youngsters coming through previous degree programs and coming onto our program to get a little bit a clearer sense of direction for their careers or also their lives as such. So the program then runs like from the 11th of March until the 7th of November. And we are pleased to say that the program, even though our campus, the business school is in Bellville, that this program will be run on the main campus in Stellenbosch. So on the Stellenbosch University main campus in Stellenbosch, this is where this program will actually be hosted. And so the students attending the program will be part and parcel of the student community in Stellenbosch on our main campus. The picture that you see there is, I think, the well-known Rooi plane, as it is commonly known, but that is where I think it's a very iconic picture to indicate to us where you can find the Nielsie, and obviously in close proximity underneath there as the stairs goes down, you'll find the main library. Not that many students may make use of the library these days because they can access it online, but that is where the main library is as well. So how will we deliver this program? As I've mentioned before, The program runs over 9 months, and the program will be delivered in a predominantly face-to-face environment where they will have in-person classes, and then some of the sessions will be facilitated remotely. In other words, it will be live, but on the Zoom platform as well. And some of those sessions would be the personal life plan sessions, as also when they have to meet as syndicate teams, they will be able to meet in remote sessions via the Zoom platform as well. But the actual classes, the content delivery will happen in a face-to-face medium on campus, as I've mentioned, in Stellenbosch as well. Important to note, ladies and gentlemen, that the program is certified by Stellenbosch University. And I think I'm very proud to say that we are in the 15th year of presenting this program. And we have more in excess of 1,300 alumni of this particular program as well. The program started out 15 years ago as what we used to call it then just the gap year program. It has evolved now. That it's not only a gap year program, but like I've mentioned before, that it's also now a structured gap year program. The program is recommended by Stellenbosch University Career Services. So when you speak to our career services, they and you come and you say, look, I don't know where to go to, they may recommend our program to the youngster. And like I've said, we have its personal development, which is structured with a developmental approach and design, and it provides some flexibility. So in other words, our youngsters come onto the program, they don't only do the program, but there's some time for them where they can explore real world exposure or opportunities as well. In other words, youngsters will be able to, for example, if they are interested in it, to go and either do job shadowing, either do a part-time job, because the program is structured in such a way that it demands some time, but it's not that excessively demanding that they are not able to do any other things with their lives. We also have a focus on holistic self-discovery. We insist on them having to explore the real world of work, and hoping that they will be learned through the program to align their talents and interests with the opportunities that may exist in the outside world as well. Like I've mentioned before, with regard to the flexibility, it offers free time for some meaningful activities. What that means is some of our youngsters, they do the program, and because of doing the program, they may not have been able to access a degree program for this year, and in the hope that they will improve their matric results as well. And so the demand of the program is of such a nature that it is quite possible for them to do that. And through some practical arrangements that we can make, we will help them to be able to go and rewrite some of those subjects so that they can improve their matric results as well. We do, however, expect ownership and accountability. In our own words, we are hoping to help youngsters to move or to transition from a higher external locus of control to an internal locus of control, where they learn to take ownership and sort of take accountability for their own development. However, we won't just expect that of them, but we provide more than enough support, guidance, and a safety net. And the guidance and safety net and support comes in the form of our learning process facilitator, JP Gradier, our program manager, Samantha Abrams, but also through a team of coaches, which will support the participants on the program as well. Having said that, maybe in conclusion of what the program is about then, is to say that the aim is that it is structured, where they will get to know themselves better by matching their talents with opportunities, and then also hopefully they will be able to explore the real world of work as well. I think it's also important then for us to say that this is not a formal academic qualification per se, but our participants at successful completion will receive a certificate from Stellenbosch University as well. Okay, then I've mentioned the program in terms of its delivery, but the program has been designed through focusing on 3 developmental areas. The first one of it is the area of personal mastery, which simply refers to the art of creating a life of fulfillment. The second developmental area is business acumen, which focuses on the creation of value and profit. And then the third area of development is the area of entrepreneurial thinking, which is a focus on how to create opportunities out there. When we look at these 3 areas working together in sync, we're hoping that the young person will leave as an empowered person with a personal vision, like I've mentioned, a strong internal locus of control, with some self-confidence, thinking entrepreneurially, with some ideas around the importance of business acumen, but also how to lead a balanced lifestyle as well. Our approach in terms of delivering the program is that we have a dual pathway teaching approach, whereby we will have some theoretical lectures, which is supported and complemented by practical application sessions as well. So lots of the classroom-driven work will focus on frame of references, theoretical models, etc. But the LPF, or the Learning Process Facilitator, will then help them to look at how do we apply that in the real world out there as well. Some part of the practical aspect is that we sort of encourage our young people to start getting involved in self-organized projects where they can, just through discussions and coaching sessions, also learn where they can use and apply the knowledge that they have acquired as well. Also, very importantly, I think it's important to note that as we look at the 3 developmental areas, that we won't deliver them in isolation. In other words, we don't do everything on personal mastery and then we're done with that, but we try and have an integrated learning experience whereby through every week, we're hoping to focus on all 3 of the developmental areas, and we make use of experienced faculty members of lecturers or faculty that will help them to make sense of the information as well. If all of that fails, there are 2 other areas or other places where the students will be supported from. The one is obviously the Learning Process Facilitator, or the LPF, and then also on a very personal level, we have a life coach assigned to each of the participants, and it is compulsory for every participant to at least adhere to a minimum of 5 coaching sessions. And the way we've done that is to make it compulsory so that the student will have the benefit of having individual focused attention and exploration of what they would like to do with their lives as well. Thank you, Chanel. So just in terms of what modules are included, so what I have on here, these are just the theoretical modules in terms of content that will be delivered. So there will be operations planning and project management, emotional intelligence, innovation, and communication and presentation skills, the entrepreneurial process, self-leadership, neuro-leadership, career planning and personal branding, thinking and paradigms, economics, people management and team dynamics, marketing, financial management. And then we also have introduced for this year a new module on e-commerce, as we realize that that is an important area for youngsters to also explore. Now, when I say these are the theoretical modules, these are the modules in which they will either do assignments, have to use them in their life plan presentations, or they will use the content into the syndicate teamwork, and that therefore they will also have either an exam or an assignment that they will have to complete with these modules. However, the program does not only consist of this. There are many other activities that they will have and they will have to attend. For example, conversations with entrepreneurs, conversations with different stakeholders like SARS, the financial institutions, to mention a couple as well. All of this culminates in the life plan and the business plan that they need to complete. And then at successful completion at the end of the year, they will then graduate or complete the program where they will receive the certificate of competence at the end of the program. Thanks, Chanel. So what is it that one can expect? All of those modules, all the activities, all of that is what we're hoping to achieve with, is to improve or increase, if you look at this slide, the public side of the participant. There are some areas that that's known to them and known to us, and that's the open side of the public side. But then there are areas that's not known to them, or it's known to others. That we call the blind side. And then there are areas that is known to them, but not by others, but that's their private side. And then lastly, there's also areas in their lives that not known to them, but also not known to others, and that's the hidden side. And so what we're hoping to do is to reduce the blind side, the hidden side, and the private side. And through doing that, through the program, through interactions with their peers, through the coaching process, to the acquisition of knowledge, what we're hoping to then achieve is that we will increase the public side, which means that it's an individual that will leave with a greater sense of self, but also a greater sense of their strengths and the focus on what it is that they can do, rather than focusing on what it is that they cannot do as such. Thank you, Chanel. And then as I'm about to wrap this part up, one of the things that they're also going to do, because we know since it is a gap year program, trying to figure out what I want to do with my career. During the year, they will also be able to complete a career planning canvas, and hopefully through different coaching sessions as well as class input, they will be able to complete the career planning canvas. And hopefully as they present at the end of the year, their parents as well as them, as well as us, people sitting on the panel, will get a sense of where they're going with their lives as well. Thank you, Chanel. Right, I'm about ready to hand over to my colleague, but before I do, I've mentioned earlier on that this program is a program where they will have to be certified as competent. And in order to do that, we therefore have to do some assessment. So what you see on the slide is the compulsory elements of the program. They will have to complete a psychometric assessment, which we will do during the first week of orientation, which is the Strength Finder. The assessments that they will have to do will be the exams, as well as individual assignments that they will have to complete. They also will have to complete some job shadowing, and that can be done either in a business or a SMME or at an NPO. And that's important because there's an activity that they have to complete for an assessment, which is an analysis of that particular organization. And then lastly, the participants also need to attend all the life coaching sessions. And I've mentioned before that each one of them need to do 5 life coaching sessions. This culminates in, like I've mentioned, the life plan that they will present, as well as a business plan. Now, the difference here, the life plan is an individual plan that they will develop iteratively throughout the entire year. And the business plan is a group project where they will learn to work with other participants in a group towards a common goal. And that really stretched them, because most of these kids or the youngsters are able to work just by themselves. But here they're going to be challenged to how you influence other people, especially when there's difficulty getting them to work together. But don't despair, don't worry too much, because with the assistance of the learning process facilitator, they do get to that at the end of the year as well. Interestingly, we often get the question where people ask us, so what does this lead to if my youngster has completed the Young Minds program? For the first time for 2025, at successful completion of the Young Minds program, we have an arrangement in place with the University of Lincoln in the UK, where at successful completion of the Young Minds program, they will be able to apply to do the foundational degree in operations management at the University of Lincoln, on condition that they meet the criteria, but they will get credit for so that they can get entry into year one of the foundational degree in operations management. That's a foundational degree. If you need more information around that, and we won't be able to discuss it this afternoon, but during the orientation session, we will provide more information to the participants. And throughout the course of the year, we will provide them with more information around that, should they have the wish to pursue that in the future. And then, as I am closing, our youngsters will be supported by the LPF and the coaches. I've mentioned that they need to at least attend 5 coaching sessions. They need to have 20 no-school hours within either an NPO or an SME or any other business. They need to pass all their assignments with a minimum of 50%, and all attendance is compulsory. In terms of admissions, we have 55% for prelim. Now we won't look at the prelim results anymore. We will now look at the end of year matric results, national senior certificate results. No specific grade 12 subjects are required, and the applications are still open. Please submit your details for more information as soon as you possibly can. On that note, I'm going to hand over to Claire, who will take us further around the preliminary schedule, etc. Thanks, Claire.
Thank you so much, Kevin, and a warm welcome to everyone on the call. Let's quickly start. So the preliminary schedule for the Young Minds for 2025 will be broken up into 2 semesters. So your semester 1 will start off with your orientation week that will run from the 11th to 14th of March, and then go straight up to the 28th of March, where we would take a recess. And then we will then kick it off from the 7th of April until the 16th of May, and then there's another recess from the 29th of June to the 20th of July. We then will kick off your second semester 2, basically your learning period 3, from the 21st of July to the 5th of September. Then a very short recess there from the 6th to the 14th of September, and then go into your learning period 4, which will be from the 15th of September to the 24th of October. And then the final period for the youngsters would be from the 3rd to the 5th of November. Just keeping in mind that all these classes would be on campus. It's actually based in the Neil C as well. And then there will be obviously the graduation or the certificate ceremony, my apologies, which will be in December, and that's remote via the Zoom platform. There is 2 exam weeks, 1 per semester. And then we will have our parent orientation session, my apology, on the 5th of March from 4:30 to 5:30, and that will also be done remotely via our Zoom platform. Just some frequently asked questions that come up quite regularly is there is no specific grade 12 subjects required, as mentioned by Kevin. The minimum average of 55, we'll be looking at the final grade 12 results, which need to be sent through soon once you apply. Then attendance of all activities, as also mentioned by Kevin, is compulsory, that they would need to attend all classes. And then mentioned too that the program will take place in Stellenbosch in the NELSI. There is on the top floor, there is our venue where all our classes will take place. And then there will be no credit exemption towards any Stellenbosch University undergraduate degrees. And the fees for 2025 is 61,574. This is excluding VAT. And in the chat as well, Chanel Bowers will put in our the Capitec opportunity, which is also available to students and parents. And lastly, not included in the fees would be the normal travel, private accommodation, your laptop, and necessary software and Wi-Fi or data that would be needed during the course of the year. All right, thank you so much. Back to you, Kev.
Thanks, Claire. That, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of our session in terms of the information that we are presenting. May I remind you at this point in time, if you have any further questions, we will pay attention to that just now. But also, I've responded to some of the questions in the chat. So there was a question around whether classes could be attended virtually. Unfortunately not. We used to have remote classes, but since we've gone in person with our classes, we don't have the technology from the venue that we have to do both in person and a virtual. So therefore, the classes will only be in person. But like I've mentioned, some sessions will be virtual, but for those sessions that will be virtual, won't be sent from the classroom, but will be from a computer. Unfortunately, we don't have that facility in the venue that we are using. And then with regards to the venue, Claire just answered that, but it will be in the NELSI, in the Fear Hall, right on top in the NELSI as well. So please, ladies and gentlemen, an email with the recording and program details will follow from our either marketing team, but also our client liaisons person, who will make sure that you get all the information of this afternoon as well. And so at this point in time, let me open the floor for any questions that you might ask. And I see the first question. I think I'm going to read it out so that Samantha, maybe you want to respond. I think it's around accommodation. Is there any assistance provided for prospective students to find a suitable place? Sam, don't you just quickly want to respond? Thank you.
Hi, Kevin. You can speak to the academia because they provide accommodation for external students. Unfortunately, cannot make use of the hostels from Stellenbosch University because that's only for Stellenbosch University full-time students. And then you can also check in with the estate agent in the NELSI, who will also be able to assist with any accommodation within the area for your students.
Thank you, Samantha. Then the next two questions. The one is classes in terms of the medium of instruction. Yes, it is in English. Unfortunately, that's the language of instruction for all our programs. And so therefore, we really, all our programs have one requirement, which is NQF level 4 English competence, which is about matric level English competence as well. So that's that. And then Linda is asking about, is this program a yearly program? So Linda, yes, we only present it once a year, but I think I must be careful because people often forget that a university academic year is not equal to 12 months. So this program is run over 9 months of the year. And like you would know, we start in March. I think it's the second week in March. that the program will actually kick off. And then we will be done in the first week of November. The program will be done. So it's not a 12-month program, but also we only have the one intake and not multiple intakes during the year. I hope that answered the question, Linda. And then Canva, how much is group work and how much do we do individually? Canva, all the work is done individually, but you are divided into syndicate teams, and there's only one project that you work on for the entire year on within your syndicate team. So if you ask me to give a percentage, the individual work is about 80%, and 20% of the time there is a physical requirement of working in a group where you have to present something as a team. But yeah, there is a strong focus on group work as well. I hope that answers your questions, Kamba. Jabs, yes, that can be used, provided it's a university that's an accredited university in South Africa, or if it was overseas, then we will attempt to find the accreditation in terms of that. Okay, so you can apply, you can submit previous or prior university results as well. Good. Mishka, I see your disappointment that the classes are not remotely presented. It's an interesting thing. There was a time when we only wanted remote, but we had to succumb under pressure that most of our parents want their youngsters to have an in-person experience, especially since it helped them to adjust to prospective university life. So before they start a degree program, they get a sense of what university life is about. It makes that transition slightly easier for them as well. Then Linda's asking what kind of job opportunities might be unlocked after the completion of the program. Linda, the options are numerous. It's difficult to give a particular job opportunity, but it depends on. So we focus on entrepreneurial thinking to develop the idea of not being dependent on working for a company, but how to generate your own income. But also some of our students want to go and work for corporates. So that's quite possible. And so what we're achieving at the end of the year is that youngsters get a greater sense of what they want to do. And therefore, if that requires a formal degree qualification, they then leave with this idea, oh, I still need to go and do this in order for me to get to that particular job or career that I would like to do. Okay, then Caitlin, unfortunately, you can play this. You will become part of the private students organization, but unfortunately, you are not allowed to play representative sport for the university. In other words, you can't play for Marties and in the, what is that, rugby competition. You can't play for Marties in that competition, but you can play in the PSO, the private students organization. They sometimes compete in the hostel leagues and stuff like that. So you can participate in that way. Then Caitlin is also asking for, Caitlin is asking that. Oh, was it Angby? Angby is asking around how many students. So I'll ask, let Samantha answer that one. That will be useful, Sam. How many students did we have last year?
Hi, we had about 90 students last year that enrolled, not enrolled for the program, but we registered on the program.
Thank you, Sam. And so we will cap it at 120, but we because that's about how much we can practically accommodate and have it meaningful attendance and guidance. So that's where we would cap it, but last year we had about 90 students. Okay, thank you, Linda. Good. Ladies and gentlemen, please, I've been trying to see if I've answered the questions there. If I've missed your question, please just raise your hand and I'll ask you a question and I will answer that. But it seems like we have been able to cover all the questions that was posted over there. And then maybe I just want to say, I know as a parent myself, my kids are now not that young anymore. But as a parent myself and many of us, where we know that this is like an anxiety-provoking period for many parents, trying to help the children to find a direction, because we often measure our success as parents in terms of what our children end up doing. So on that note, I want to say congratulations. If your youngster completed Matric in 2024, congrats on that. I think you also need to give yourself a little bit of an applause for that, because we all know you as the parent write Matric more than your youngster write Matric. So well done on helping them to get through the stage of their lives. But we also want to say, I know it's anxiety-provoking, but don't despair. Many kids have been through this where they have no idea what they want to do with their lives, but they find their way. For my sins, I also work as a psychologist, and it's quite interesting how often I see people referring the youngsters to me. And with the demands that we have on youngsters in terms of the options and information that's freely available, those choices are quite difficult for youngsters, especially if they're trying to figure out themselves out. So it can be overwhelming. But I know that other kids have done it, other parents have done it, so your children will also be able to do that. All right. Then I see Francois was asking, what is the level of engagement from students with the other SU students? Francois, I'm not sure if you're asking in terms of class engagement, or are you talking about social engagement? Okay. Yes, on a social level, because they become part of the private students organization, they are incorporated in all residence activities and stuff like that. And so therefore, that engagement is quite high. Okay. And then Canva, how much presentation work will there be? Canva, like I've mentioned, there are two things that gets presented. The one is the life plan. I've mentioned earlier on that the life plan is done iteratively, which means that you build on it. And there are 4 iterations of your life plan. So you start out and then you present it. Now, fortunately, the life plan presentation you present to the learning process facilitator. But there's not a lot of other students sitting there, because it's quite personal in terms of how you do that. Then the other presentations you have to do will be as a group, and there's about 4 of those 5 group presentations as well. So there are 5 times that you will present that. But right at the beginning, in the first week, we brief you around an activity called the 100 Rand Challenge, where you will have to partner with someone, and then you and that partner of yours will have to present what you've done with your 100 Rand Challenge as well. So there's about, if I look at it, 8, 9, about 11 presentations that you will have to do over the space of the year. But don't worry, we help you to prepare you. That's why there's a module on presentation skills. By the time you have to present, you would have learned to know your classmates, and you won't have to worry about people laughing at you. Don't you worry about that. Janine, yes, the session is recorded. You're welcome, Kamba. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I maybe just at this point want to wrap our session up by thanking you for being with us this afternoon, and by reminding you that that we will be in touch with you, but also more importantly that you will be contacted, or you will receive that email that I was referring to earlier on. Charmaine and the rest of the team will be in touch with you, and as we are sort of greeting each other, we want to say thank you. There is the email address if you have any other further questions that might pop up after the session this afternoon. But like I said, an email with the recording of today's session will be provided to you as well. On that note, thank you so much for joining, and have a fantastic afternoon. We really trust that we will see you, youngster, joining us in the near future. Thanks a lot.